don't know if they're viceroy or...
I can tell you a little bit about them.
Oh, well, use it for your program.
Sure, okay.
One's birthday.
I can tell you these are monarchs and it was a boy.
Okay. You know what
I can show you. Where?
I went to get gasoline yesterday next over here.
Okay.
And everybody was looking down and stepping over.
Yeah.
And those were the 3 that were left there, and I picked them up and brought them today.
Yeah, well,
so
thank
that everybody
you.
could see them close up.
Wonderful. What's
and
your name?
I held them up to the light, Evelyn, and I looked in the light, and they're pretty transparent. But that way, everybody can look at them and handle them without
Definitely.
being...
That's wonderful. That's great. Thank you. We will do that.
Okay, there you are. They're yours.
Okay.
Oh, look at you.
So, do we have everybody, Barb? At least just milling about? Okay, great. All right, so everybody knows we're talking about monarchs today, right? Whoop, I think we just had a fan that blew the wing. Here we go. And do you know what monarchs eat?
They eat milkweed.
Milkweed. Yeah. So without milkweed, we don't have monarchs. So it's important for us to learn about milkweed, right?
I once found an egg that was not on it.
It happens.
I figured
sometimes.
out that it
They
was.
will sometimes lay on other ones, but ideally it should be on milkweed, yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to show you a little bit here. So right now is a great time to learn about milkweed. I teach about common milkweed, and I have these handouts you guys can grab at the end. And if anybody wants to adopt some, be a foster family, and release it once it's a butterfly, I can teach you how and set you up with your own container system at the end. But I want you guys to learn about it first, okay? So I have this handout. I want to give a big shout out to the Beautiful Monarch on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, it's a great group. Whether you're raising monarchs or not raising monarchs, you can learn so much. There's people from all over the country, but also even there's monarchs like in New Zealand, for example. So there's people from New Zealand that are in that group. And learning about milkweed, monarchs, variety of things. You can see a lot of great pictures too from what people are doing. So in here I have kind of like quick 101 stuff. I teach about common milkweed because that's the easiest to find and easily recognizable for the average person. And this is common milkweed. They love this stuff. And right now is a great time to learn about common milkweed because you can see it in the different phases. I have the different pictures of what it looks like with the flowers and the pods on here too. So kind of like you can use it as a field guide when you're identifying to get milkweed. You have a question?
Do you know why they like to eat those?
So it's actually a special relationship that they have. It helps make them to be poisonous. So if something eats them, it helps protect them because they learn to not eat that again, right? So like these stripes are kind of like a warning saying, I'm toxic, you don't want to eat me, right?
And itself is so poisonous.
And the plant is poisonous too, yep. And this is where they're able to absorb that from. So when you're identifying milkweed, you can actually, I'll pass this around, you can smell it. It smells a lot like a lilac. It's so beautiful, the flowers. So it's flowering right now. You can smell it if you'd like. Mm-hmm. Does it smell like lilac a little bit? Right? And then what happens is these flowers, and if you're ever, trying to put like a little bit of milkweed in for your animal or for your monarchs, you can put them in like if you have a little floral tube. That's a good way. I keep them in like a little tub like this in the fridge, and but you don't want to have the monarchs in the fridge. It's just your leaf storage. So these floral tubes without the point are good to have. And so what ends up happening is the flowers actually start turning into the pods. This is the beginning stage of a pod, and you can see some of the flowers here. We're right there, and they're turning into pods there. They grow a little bit bigger, right? And right now, this is kind of what the size is.
I've seen those
they
in
are,
my yard.
So this is the common milkweed plant, right? And then in the picture, you can see that they actually get quite a bit bigger. You can hold them in full size of your hand, right? And in the monarch mama's world, we talk about the pods as being like candy for the caterpillars. They love the pods, but they definitely need the leaves to be eating on. But you can even throw pods in there and they'll munch on it. So that's the milkweed. Do you guys have questions about milkweed? No? Okay. I'm I'm gonna put this here. You guys can pass around the pods.
Can you start
Feel
them
them.
from seed?
I want to adopt it.
You can, yes, definitely. So this, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So these, do you know what happens with these? So these are the seed pods, right?
Yeah.
So what happens in the fall? Anybody know? I'm gonna pass this around. I'll show you a picture. Okay. So in the fall and the winter, they end up drying like this, right? And then those are the little fluffies that you see flying around. And then this part right here, these are the seeds. And the fluffy part helps carry it around, kind of like a dandelion seed. Same idea, right? So these have seeds inside them actually, but they're not ripe yet to plant. So if you're to plant them, you need to wait until it gets to this point. And it is a seed that needs what's called cold stratification, where it needs the winter to winter over, to freeze, or if you're doing them at home, you could put them in the freezer. There's methods online, and I can talk to you after if you want for how to do it. And getting them as seedlings is helpful, and they can be kind of finicky, but they do. Nature knows how to do it too. Just spreads them all over and plants them. So, all right. So there's that with our milkweed. Now we're here to also learn about the monarchs themselves, right?
Yep.
So when a mama monarch, I also do this method too if I don't have a floral tube. It's just wet paper towel with rubber band around it, and it helps keep it fresh, so it's not all limp. I picked this morning, so I can show you guys. But a mama monarch will lay her eggs on the underneath side of a leaf. Okay, why do you think she might do that?
So that predators don't see it.
Yes, very good. What else? Yes.
So if it rains, the egg won't slide off.
It's attached very well, but that's also another potential if it could be a very strong rain, right? You want to help protect it from as many things that can happen in nature as possible. What else? If it's a hot day, what else might being on the underneath side of the leaf help?
It keeps it cool.
Yeah, so it's not baking in the sun, right? So that's a great way to be able to find eggs if you're ever looking and you look at milkweed plants. And if you see, I'll show you an egg.
I could raise one myself.
So the eggs are very, very tiny. I'll show you. These, oops, sorry, Morgan. These all, so it's not the black dots, that's their poop, which is called frass. When they're tiny, the poop is tiny. When they're bigger, the poop is bigger, or the frass. You see the egg right there?
Yeah. Oh,
That,
so small.
yeah. It's kind of like,
More.
here, is that,
Yep,
I don't know.
see it.
It's kind of like a little football. Very, very tiny. And see, it's on the underneath side of the leaves, right?
Sometimes I find them.
And sometimes if it's a little bit like more of a milk color and it's a perfect round, that's what's called a sap ball. So whenever you're picking milkweed, you need to be very careful, because when you pick off a leaf, which I'm going to use these to feed the caterpillars anyways, especially if it's fresh, it will actually release a little bit of, it looks like milk. You see that? And that's the sap in the milkweed. You just got to be careful. It's kind of sticky. It almost is like, it seems like Elmer's glue a little bit. Like if you had Elmer's glue on your hand, it's kind of like that. You need to be careful not to get it in your eyes. So I always bring like wet paper towel so I can wipe my hands off. And I usually bring like a plastic bag or a container that I can put them in. And yep, just be very careful with those. And these we can actually, somebody want to put one in here?
Yes, me.
Okay. We can put a couple in. I'll give you this one. Just put it in there. Sure. So we need to feed them, and I'll show you how to do a little bit of cleaning too for them. We'll put another one in. Does anybody want to practice breaking one off? Do you want to practice? Yeah.
Me.
Okay, we'll do a couple times. So you can practice just breaking it off. I just kind of put my 2 fingers there, yep, and then just break it off. Good job. Perfect. And then you can put it right here in the container. Yep, slide it in there. Yep, and just drop it in. Perfect. Good job. Okay, so, and I have a little bit on my hand, so I'm able to just wipe it off right like that. All right, so we have the eggs. I'll pass this around. Just be very careful.
I wanted to practice breaking off.
Yeah, I'll let you do it in 1 second.
Okay.
So there's a couple more eggs. Do you spot more eggs in there? Those white, yep. Yes, that is a newborn from today.
No.
Does everybody see that little line there? It's a tiny newborn from this morning. Yep.
That is the smallest thing. Now that is the smallest one.
Oh my.
You guys want to see the tiny newborn? Right
Un
in
bebé.
there. Yeah.
Un bebé right here.
Mm-hmm.
That is the smallest thing.
That, well, it's not the tiniest thing that I saw. What about its poop and its own egg itself?
Right there.
Because
Right?
it's all up in there.
Okay, so they grow. So as an egg, they're an egg for a couple days. How many days are they an egg for? A couple days. Right? So an egg for a couple days. And then they are in this caterpillar stage for about 3 weeks. Okay? And then they eventually, as you guys know, we talked about when we first came in here, they'll end up actually going into chrysalis. This guy's preparing to go into chrysalis today. So I have 3 of them that are in this stage in these containers. So I'm hoping one will transform while we're here today. I have a bunch in this container too.
Yeah, one turned into a chrysalis.
Yeah. Yesterday at my library up in Sister Bay, we got to watch one do it at the desk, right in one of these containers. It was pretty cool. I have a little video of it if anybody wants to see some of it. If we don't get to see one.
How often do you have to clean the poop?
So it depends on the
Remember,
size. Every day
Sandy
is
said it
a
was
good thing to do. And in this 2-pound deli container method, it's real easy to just, if they're on a leaf, you can just take them out on the leaf, dump it out, like what's in here, the excess leaves and frass, and then put it back in. And yeah.
But if you open it up, you want to interrupt that one hanging, yeah, you wait till it's...
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. So let me show you the next. So we saw some little babies, right? Let's see here. We got to see that one that was a day old. Maybe I should show you the bigger ones next. Here we go. Okay, so a good way to find where they might be. It's not on this side.
Look
It's going to be on the other side. Look for the holes. See, right?
holes and frass.
Yep. Those are good signs. They're kind of like Hansel and Gretel markers for them. Yes.
The little
Yes.
little ones like to hang out at the very
They're
top.
really good hiders. Yeah. So that's, if you ever
Not
see
when
leaf
they have
like
holes
that,
of
you
frass.
don't see any,
Not when
look
they
on the other
always
side,
hang out
they're
at
probably
the
on
top
the other
of the
side.
plant.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go up to the next size. So now this is, I kind of talk about these as like, this is the brand, or this is like the eggs, right? And the brand new newborns. This is the nursery, toddler daycare, right? Here's kind of elementary, middle school, high school in here. And this is like the adult cat mansion.
Looks like some of them have skipped some braids.
Yep. So they're a bit of a mix. In here, these are the ones that are like toddlers in elementary school. So I'm just gonna bring out a leaf here. You'll
you mean
see.
I'd be
So
in
these are a
there?
little older.
You'd be in there.
These are about like week and a half, depending on which one you're looking at. There's some smaller ones in here.
Chocolate rice.
Yeah. So see, there's some small ones. Those are just about a week, short week.
Or 2 friends left.
Okay. So I'm gonna close those guys in because they are really good at escaping and crawling when you're not looking. All right, and then these guys, I'll take one of these out.
Is that bigger?
Mm-hmm. So this guy right here, he's eating. See, do you see him eating that leaf?
Their head looks like they're about to disguise themselves.
Mm-hmm. So they have, oh, this guy's pooping right now.
Eating and pooping.
Yep. So they have, some people call them antenna, but they're filaments. So the really long filaments are on their face, and then the short ones are on the backside. And it's the confused predators. False head, exactly. So,
They're really small.
yep.
Just have antenna, but they're just tiny.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. They kind of remind you of barcodes a little bit, huh, with all their stripes?
Yeah.
So, if I were, oh, and this guy right here, actually, I can show you. I think, was this guy, oh, this guy right here, we were watching molt. Right? We were watching him molt before he walked out of his skin.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of it left. I can show you. I don't want to disrupt them too much.
So they can get air without holes?
Well, I'm opening it multiple times a day.
Oh.
And really, when I set you up for home care, I set it up with the paper towel, and then that
gives
prevents the
enough air.
condensation. And yep, you never want to poke holes in here because the holes can cut them, the plastic, and then they can also escape too.
Okay.
So, but you also don't want them baking in
But
a
what
car
they're
like
telling
a
me, they
dog
get
would
enough
be.
Air.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're fine. So this is the guy that just molted. He just walked out of his
I have
skin.
some
We were
good
watching him when
news.
they were first coming
I
in.
was looking down, and I think that there was one with a black spot on the
Oh.
chrysalis, and some of the chrysalis are shrinking. I think some of them are about ready to hatch.
Oh, right. So we are going to go to that one next.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So I'm going to come around on that side.
What?
So what's happening in the cat mansion, I'm going to grab it and I'll bring it right into the middle so that everybody can go around. Okay. So come right here so you guys can all kind of go around. Right? Okay. So you guys see all around the top, there's like gold gems. Looks like, or not gold gems, but green gems with some gold dots on it. You see up there? Those all went into chrysalis yesterday. And actually, so when there's multiple of these, you call them chrysalids. A single one is a chrysalis. On this side, I'm going to have you guys actually look right through the grate, right here. That one just changed in the last couple minutes. Can you see it's all wrinkly?
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
not
I
smooth?
saw that.
Yeah. So that just happened in here. And it's almost like, with a lake when you have stones and they get nice and smooth, right? Because of the water. So what's going to happen with that guy is he's going to be moving. It's going to look like he's doing like pull-ups and sit-ups and stuff like that. And that helps kind of smooth him out. And he'll harden over the next 24 hours. And so right now he's pretty soft. But that is actually the formation that's beginning of the butterfly, from caterpillar to butterfly. And when you see them, yes, that's just from today. I cleaned it out this morning. Yep. And in here you see the ones that are the letter J. Those are going to change over today.
First, chrysalis, and then
Some of them are backwards. They might be.
A J backwards. Yeah, it depends on which way you're looking at it, right? So I'm going to show you some that we can see a little better than what's in the cat mansion. Oops, sorry. Okay. So, let's see here. So this one, right? Oops. So they attach, they spin silk with their mouth. They spin like a silk. Do you know what I mean when I'm saying that? Yeah? And they spin it, and then it basically attaches them right up to the top, and it's called a silk button that they attach to, and then they hang here. This guy's going to be a while, because his filaments are still pretty pumped up. When they get deflated, like a basketball might be deflated when it's losing air, or your tires on your bike get deflated. When these get deflated and are just drooping and don't seem like they're puffy, it's going to be pretty soon that he's going to change.
And then they turn into butterflies?
Well, then they're going to be like this for about 7 to 12 days. Could be as long as 14 days, but usually about a week. And then it's a butterfly. And the way that you can tell when it's about to change is when the chrysalis, these are all green right now because they're new ones. When it starts to look like the monarch color wings, that's when it's going to happen that day. Okay? This one is a real monarch, but it was eaten by a predator, and the predators eat their abdomen. So it's like the part that would have been right here.
Why would they just eat that?
That's the juicy part. The wings don't have much juice. So, but we still have the wings that we can take a look at here.
Probably whatever it is, probably dead.
Could be. This one is a female, and I'll show you how to tell the difference between a male and a female. Grab a couple things. So, alright. So I'm going to show you here. So if you have, right, this is a monarch, this one right here, and this is a monarch. Right here on the wings, they have these dots, that's a boy. Girls don't have those dots. And these veins are thinner on the boys and they're thicker on the females. So when she brought in these wings, I could see, can anybody tell me, this is a lower wing of a monarch. Is that a boy or a girl?
Boy.
It's a boy. Yeah. That's how we can tell. And then Remember when Evelyn walked in, she was saying she wasn't really sure if these wings were monarchs or viceroys. Does anybody know what a viceroy is?
Viceroys are butterflies that pretend to be monarchs so that predators don't eat them.
You're right. That's what this sheet is about too. So a monarch is the one that's poisonous, right? And the viceroys aren't actually poisonous, but they're camouflaging themselves to make it look like they are.
I can still tell the difference really easily.
Yeah, how do you tell the difference?
One has different shaped wings,
Mm-hmm.
and then this one has like upside down U's in them, and that one still has
Mhm.
dots.
Yeah, this U shape right there, that line, the monarch doesn't have that.
It's a V.
Right, so when you're looking at these
Also the
two,
way they're
which one is
that's the
which?
wings.
Yeah, which one is which? Which is the viceroy?
Monarch.
That's the monarch. That's the viceroy. See that, right? There's a couple more pictures here that can help you. So this is the monarch at the top. Is this a boy or a girl?
Boy.
Yep.
Boy.
Okay, and then this is the viceroy, right? Because we have those lines that you're talking about. And there's also a butterfly called the queen, which sometimes some people will confuse too for these. And this has the
They
extra.
don't
like,
even look the same.
I know, when you see them together, they don't look the same. But when they're apart, sometimes it's easy for people to think that they're maybe a monarch or a viceroy.
They're
Aren't
red.
the queens like actually like a member of the monarch family?
I believe so. So these are things that you can all take home if you'd like. And we should also talk about the migration. Who knows about the migration that monarchs do? You do? You know about the generations that happen? A little bit? So what ends up happening is in the winter, when we don't have the monarchs here, because we just have them here in the summer, right? Summer and early fall. They're in Mexico wintering over. And I have a chart of that migration. So they're wintering over down here in Mexico, the ones that we have here. And eventually they'll come up. We are right here, right? In Door County. So it's not one that does the whole flight here though, but it is one that does the whole flight back at the end of the season. So how that happens is they winter over for 9 months, and in the spring they start the migration up this way. And they have several generations. Do you guys know what generations are? What generations mean? Yeah, so you're a certain generation. If you had siblings, you'd be the same generation, or cousins. And then your parents are the next generation up, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, right?
We have a grandmother, we have mothers,
Okay, yes, and
grandmothers,
grandmother. Okay,
and a great-grandmother.
this is perfect. Okay, so there is a monarch in Mexico, and it ends up starting the migration up this way, right, in the springtime.
Yeah,
And then it has a baby, maybe somewhere down in here, okay? So that's the child. And then that child keeps it coming this way, right? And then that one has a child. About every month this process is happening. Okay, so then we have a grandchild. So we have a grandma, a mom, and a child, right? So now we're in about here in June. Then in July, then that child has a child, and then that child has a child. So we would be even beyond the generations we have represented in this room. That child is the one that flies all the way back to Mexico and winters over. So it's a lot of generations, right?
When they fly back, how high do they go in the sky? Do you know?
I'm not sure the height.
But they fly up in the air currents from up.
Yeah, and I understand that there's also a drop off just north of us in Michigan, just north of like Washington Island area, but there's like a spot I think where they follow like a current. They actually like all roost in a certain spot and then they all drop off to start flying south. Someone was telling me about that last year. So anyways, so multiple generations. So in the fall, do you know about nectaring flowers and our pollinators, right? These are some of our insects that need the nectaring flowers. So especially in the fall, they need to fuel up so that they can make the journey back, right? And they fly a long ways, don't they? And it's important that they have nectaring flowers all throughout, and the milkweed, especially up here, right, and down south. So that's how that works, and you guys can all take these home too. Monarchwatch.org is a great website. There's, in the fall, have you guys ever heard of tagging monarchs?
No.
Yeah? No?
Stickers
Do you
on the
know?
front.
Yeah.
Put stickers on the front.
So there's special stickers that you can put on Monarchs. MonarchWatch.org is one of the main organizer of it, and you can get them tagged. There's a special code on it, and they're specially developed for Monarch wings. You put it on that little dorsal section of the wing, the lower section of the wing. So you put it right there in that little part that looks like kind of like a fish fin. That section there. See, that's what they did there. That's where you put the sticker. So it doesn't affect their flying. And it's just the perfect weight, the perfect stickiness, and it stays on there. And there's a little code that's on there that you can enter onto monarchwatch.org. So if you ever get it tagged, for example, at the Ridges or up in my library in Sister Bay or somewhere else, you can actually enter it into the database, or probably the place that's tagging it will enter it for you. And you can follow it on their website and see if anybody recovered it along the way. And this is what it looks like when they're wintering in Mexico, when they're roosting in trees. A lot of them collecting together, right?
They do that on their way down. I used to
Yeah.
live in Illinois,
Yeah,
and I
yes.
had an evergreen
In the
tree,
fall.
and I thought that, I woke up and looked out, and I thought, why did that tree die? And when I went out,
It was full.
absolutely covered with the monarchs.
Yeah.
I was,
It's pretty awesome.
it was, I've only seen it once,
Yeah.
and I was so thrilled.
It's awesome. No, it's great. So we were talking about when they change. Do you see any that are changing yet? I think they're all in J's, huh? Yep, I'm looking here. All right, so what it's doing between the J and the chrysalis stage is this right here. So it's going from this side all the way to this side. Well, it happens, which one? This one?
Yeah.
So this it's just a finished chrysalis that's already formed. And this is just showing once it's, see how those filaments are droopy? Remember I was talking about how they're deflated and droopy? And it just kind of, I talk about it like a jacket, like it's just busting off its jacket and then just shimming it off. And it just scooch right up there. And it kind of collects right about there. And then, yeah, it's just like wiggling around, finally smooths out, right? So if you were to look, yeah?
I see lines and then like those are the wings.
That's exactly right. So when you're looking at this up here, it's hanging upside down. So right here is where its wings are. It's all compacted in there though. And its eyes and head are right all in there. And here's the abdomen. So when it's actually taking shape, when it's coming out of chrysalis, let's see if I can find, here, right here, on your handout. This process here happens within seconds. Once it finally comes out of that little veneer, which I can show you here. Here's an example of a chrysalis. This is one that came out. You can feel that if you want. You can pass it around. Don't crunch it too much. Yeah, so that's just the little shell. It's not really a shell, it's like a veneer coating that it just kind of busts out of when it, yeah, you can touch it if you want.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like a
do
light
you-
cellophane.
Do you have to have like a girl and a boy, and then those two have to mate to have babies, or can you just have a girl and then it?
Yep, so
There's no
you need
gold.
the female, yeah. No,
The gold is gone.
it's not, yeah, you can't harvest the gold. It's part of the magic of a butterfly.
Yeah, not really gold, it's just gold
I think,
color.
yeah, there's speculation on what its purpose actually is. Some people believe it might be protection of certain parts of the body, like maybe the eyes,
I don't
or
really
it might
know.
even, some of the research I've done, yeah, I haven't found an exact answer. It may serve other purposes. I don't want to speak too much to it, but yeah, it's not actual gold.
No,
It looks like it though.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
It feels gold,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, you can see, is it on that chrysalis, that gold?
Yes. Yeah. So when it's a chrysalis, so this is one where you can still see the skin is still up there, right?
Yes.
And yep, and it forms that little bit of gold, that gold line, and then right there you
It's
see like it
molten.
almost looks like gold eyes.
So you can release them?
It's molting.
Well, it just transformed, so the skin is still there a little bit.
Oh.
Usually they just wiggle the skin off. That's just stuff.
That one's stuck on, yeah, a little bit.
Look,
So when it's, yeah, you see,
Yeah, I don't.
Should I move him forward?
One of the caterpillars is like,
Oh, you know what he's doing? He's spinning silk on the side. My son and I were just watching that yesterday with one of them, and he said it looks like he's drawing. So, this guy right here.
Oh, yeah.
Right here? See?
They're making ladders.
Well, actually, they're fighting.
Well,
Those two are fighting. Yep, the other guy on the
no,
other side.
no, no,
he
they're
makes-
not
like-
fighting. That's the butt.
Oh, he's walking away. That guy's trying to get over here.
They don't like getting touched by each other.
Yeah, so they're separating
I
themselves.
saw it moving around the antennas. It
Yeah.
fooled you.
All right. So, okay, we were talking about when it comes out of here, right? That's just in a couple seconds. Now, when it comes out and it's hanging like a bat, see, upside down like that, the reason why I do the 2-pound deli container method is because it gives them enough space. Here, I'll show you. Not that guy's. I'll show you this one. So they need enough space for their wings to hang down, like in the picture, right? And dry. So when it comes out, it needs to dry its wings for about 4 to 6 hours. So that it's not crumpled or anything, right? It needs to just dry its wings, kind of like if you're ever drying something on a line. You ever done that? Or just use a dryer? Because if you're drying something, just like the wings, it needs to pump the fluid from its abdomen in this first moment here. And just pumping fluid into its wings, and it needs to just hang there and dry for like 4 to 6 hours. And it doesn't need to eat for the first 24 hours. So if it was raining and you were wanting to release it, you wouldn't have to right away. You could wait till the next morning if you needed to, if it came out at night and it was raining. And yeah, I don't know. You have a question?
I think, wait a minute, does it have to be that in that container so that it also has enough room to fly around?
So that's a good question. So as a caterpillar, you guys see, right, they've been crawling all over and they can crawl on the sides real easy of everything. When it's a butterfly, it has a little bit harder time doing that. So in this stage, when it's a chrysalis, so like this one here, it's a chrysalis, you'd clean out this stuff after it's hardened. Remember we talked about it needs to harden for a day? And then it's going to be this state for 7 to 12 days. You clean this part out, and I have an example here. You put in what I call a ladder. So just kind of like a 2-inch section of paper towel. And it can't be the paper towel that has soap in it. It's just plain paper towel. Just regular paper towel, right? And I just make a little ladder. And the reason why I make a ladder is because as a butterfly, it can't climb on the sides. So if it falls, when it's in the chrysalis, if it were to fall, when it was hanging and drying its wings, it needs to get back up. And because the wings aren't dry yet, it can't fly yet. So this is the ladder to help it get back up.
It has little dots on it as grips, like kind of like a rock wall.
True, yeah.
They have claws too.
Yep.
So
And then I just put a little bit of paper towel in the bottom because there's a little bit of liquid that ends up coming out as they're doing that process. Okay? So, yeah, that's the butterfly. All right, so I'm going to show you, here's a cool method of if you ever were in a conundrum where you had to transfer a chrysalis from something that it attached to that it shouldn't have attached to, is maybe in a dangerous spot, like this guy. I'm going to move him into a regular container. You see him, he's up here.
How is it a dangerous spot?
Well, I'm just saying this isn't necessarily dangerous, but if it were in a dangerous spot, somewhere that you discovered it, that
Like
might be.
where?
Can somebody think of where it might be a dangerous spot? No.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
Once it wasn't a dangerous spot and I thought it was something else and I accidentally knocked it over.
Yeah.
It was like right on my place that like it was like hanging there and I thought it was like an owl pellet, so I took it off and then I realized it was a caterpillar.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever needing to move it, this is how you would do it. So this guy is fully dried. I'm just going to show you. Do you kind of see that silk that's all spun around there? It's kind of like a spider that spins webs, right? It's spun a bunch of silk on here. And you'll have to see the gold on there too. And a real easy method to be able to transfer it. You'd want an adult to do this. There's this method where you can use some tape. Now you do not want to get the chrysalis. You're just going for the silk. Okay? So, yep, you can come over here.
Thank you.
Can everybody see? Move that down. So you're just going to go on either side of it. And this is basically like you're just picking up the silk. And actually, I'm going to
Where did you
fold
learn
these
that?
ends. I'm a nerd. I like learning things. I've been doing monarch raising for 4 summers now. And this I learned somewhere along the way, probably on the Beautiful Monarch, or somebody else who also was raising. I think this one I learned on the Beautiful Monarch from somebody else who.
Video or website?
So it's a Facebook site called the Beautiful Monarch. Yep, and there's a lot of like videos on there, or even just handouts. A lot of people post on there
Okay.
different techniques that if you ever needed.
This is
To learn?
really, really, I've never
Yeah.
even seen that before.
And I forget, it was from somebody, a fellow raiser like yourselves. Look at that. Watch. You see that?
And then you just pick it up.
And then you can just pull it right off. And then you can adhere it to the safe spot that you need. Now look at all that silk.
Okay.
Do you see all that silk right here?
Yeah.
Now, where are you gonna
See
put
that
it?
there?
So I'm going to put this on a paper towel that I'm going to then put in a container. So if somebody wants to take them home, you can. And they don't require any food when they're in this stage. Thank you. So I'm just going to put him right here in the middle.
How does her get that into us?
Yep. Right. And it still has enough. And I'm just going to cover up some of that little sticky stuff. So it doesn't stick at all in itself. Just felt a little bit of sticky there. Okay. So now I can actually put this on a container. And we're going to build our ladder, right? Our ladder and the padding for the bottom. Scissors is over here. So now remember, this guy, he's hardened for a couple days now. So he's fine. If it was somebody that just changed, we wouldn't want to be doing this right now. You've got to give him some time to dry. So I'm just going to cut like a section here. Yeah.
He has to grow up a little bit.
Yep.
Mature.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have no reason to.
Seems harder to be safe. So I'm going to do the kind of like curved edge here to go with the curve of the container. You're just going to drop a little bit in. It's almost like a ladle.
It's okay.
You know what a ladle is?
Yeah.
So we have it up like that. See that? Right? And then I'm just going to pinch this here and fold it over. So now we have our ladder. And then I'm just going to take a little section here to absorb if we have any liquid, which probably will happen when he comes out, or she. And just take a little piece like this, folding it again. Okay, and then we'll just put this in the bottom. And I'm going to hold the ladder so it doesn't slide down on me. And I'm just going to push it down as much as I can to give the butterfly as much space in there as possible. And so with the paper towel, I use the flat edge, right, rather than my folded edge. That's going to be on the top side. So I'm just going to flip him over. See? He's hanging. So we're good. And then I'm going to put him in the middle, like that. And I'm going to use a rubber band, just like my other containers. We do have some snacks in a little bit. So then I'm just making sure it's on there secure. And there we go. He's all ready.